Hari Om. Hari Om. Hari Om. There we are again. Already 1 week. Hard to believe. I start with a question from Mariano. He said that recently it comes very easy that he just connects with consciousness. Then sometimes he just sits quietly and relaxes and it's there. And then often also when he's active, just he remembers, relaxes, and it's right there. It's still there. It just goes on and on and on. And now he wonders, is this an experience? Is this the real stuff? Is this going to go away again? And on top of that, what to do with it? What to do with consciousness? Well, first, Mariano, it may be experiences for you that you consciously connect again and again, but the essence that you are touching there is not an experience. It's that which makes the experience possible. And of course, what you are realizing now, that it's always there, that has been a fact all the time. It has always been there. Whether we are aware of it or not, whether we ever have the idea about it or not, that base is always there. Without that, nothing is. So that is not an experience. That is prior to experience. That is what makes the experience possible. But then when we are focused on the level of the mind, for a moment you become aware, then it goes away again, then this is an experience in the mind, a momentary awareness of something that is always there. But don't you worry about whether it's the real or not the real, you just come back to that pure consciousness as good as you can. Whether you are sitting or whether you are active. And sometimes there are periods where it goes very smooth, where it's easy to connect. And then there may be a period again where it's more difficult, but maybe not. But whatever happens, don't interpret anything in that. Just connect consciously with that pure awareness as good as you can. And then you wonder, but then what to do with it? Mariano, you don't have to do anything with it. Just be as alert, as continuous with that as you can. And then simply relax and be open. It's not that we have then once you touching that more consciously, you have to work with it and develop this and develop that. There are spiritual groups who are very much into that basically you have to get in touch with the essence and then develop all kinds of experiences, all kinds of powers. Let all that come all by itself. The important thing is The job we have to do is to become aware how much we are astray from that, how much the attention is disconnecting, and then bring it back and become aware of that fact that is always there, and just let go in it, get rooted in it, leave from that perspective, and then let the experience and whatever has to express itself, whatever has to grow out of that, let it happen by itself. It's not that once you touch that, then you have that schedule to fulfill what you have to do with it. You don't have to do anything with it. The doing is only become aware how much we are doing all the time to prevent that awareness, and then learn not to do that anymore. Be here, be now, relax. Let go and be open. And then let that experience unfold in its own natural beauty. And it will be every time a totally new story. It's not that you can have a blueprint what should happen. You will unfold in that experience in your own unique beauty. And that's how it should be. So you're doing fine. Just continue with that. And even if sometimes it's again a bit more difficult, don't get disheartened. You just continue and it will get easier again. And the moment may come that your attention sinks so deep into that you simply don't lose it anymore. Even if you are active, even if the attention is occupied on the surface in manifestation, that there deep down there is that awareness of that aspect of you that is not affected by it, that is not moved by it. All right, I leave it at that. Hope your question is answered to your satisfaction. Then we can go to another subject. Is there anybody who would like to talk? Please come in.
Hi, Werner, it's Udi.
Hello, Udi.
I don't know if it's connected or not, but it seemed to me.
Yes, I can hear you. I can see you. Or you mean...
we experience...
Okay.
Yeah, we experienced in those days a feeling of desperation.
Oh, yes.
Around me, there is a lot of hate.
Yes.
And violence inside,
yes.
outside. And it's very difficult to understand how you can keep hope in this storm.
Yeah, right. Of course, when it's going on like it's going on now in Israel, then it's easy to get overwhelmed and get into despair. But no matter what mood, no matter what feeling we are pulled in, prior to that, there is that aspect of you that is not affected by it. Somehow the mind will easily create arguments and say, but now it's not possible. Now I'm totally justified not to connect because look what's going on. That's where my attention has to be. But actually, if you do the opposite, then you are doing the best for yourself and everybody around you. Even in such times, even if it's so turbulent, even if there is a lot of violence and hatred, it's still that pristine, pure, untouched consciousness that makes that experience possible. So, as good as you can, stop, make always those little stops and just breathe and relax and feel your attention come back to your source and experience from that perspective and act from that perspective as good as you can. The greater the challenge, the greater the merit. For every little moment you succeed.
I have the feeling that this desperation that I experience is a reactive, of course, and maybe things will be changed, I hope soon.
Yeah.
And from the other hand, the hopes that I know that they are stable, that they exist there always, it's look like as not connected to the present.
Yeah, yeah.
And I must say, it's creating inside me and all people around me a bad experience, a very bad experience.
Oh, definitely. I mean, there's no point in trying to say it's a good thing or it's a good experience. What is happening is certainly horrible. There's no point in trying to putting nice colors on it in order to be spiritual. Simply, in spite of that experience, there is that aspect in you that is not affected by it, that makes the experience possible. So try not to be totally locked on that level of experience, but try to think, let the attention sink back to that which is prior to experience. Nelly, can you please turn off your microphone? You are interfering here a bit. Udi, can you say something? Then you will come back in my picture.
Well, can I say about what?
Now you are here again.
Yeah, I read you well.
Yeah.
You know, it's not a new experience to the people who live here around.
Right.
But I feel that the sense of hate aggravate lately.
Yeah.
Not only inside of me, and it's like swallow everybody into this situation, and we react. And my question is not only on this specific event that happened now, but when you feel that something seriously happened around you, something very significant, which even, I would say, challenge your existence.
Yeah.
It's even physically.
Yeah.
You know, we are spending 6-7 times a night in the shelter because there's rockets around here.
Yeah.
And it's very bad on the other side. If it's worse.
Yeah.
So nobody can live in this situation.
Right.
And the only thing that will connect us back is this hope.
I mean, hope is a very good feeling. It's a very helpful feeling. But prior to that is that pure consciousness, that pure silence. You can use the hope like as a channel to come back to that, but come even prior to hope, to just that awareness of your existence that cannot be challenged. You said even our existence is maybe it's insecure, but it's not really true. Nothing can do anything to your existence, to your being. So superficially, in this movie, in this world, we can be wiped out. But you, what you are, cannot be wiped out. Hold on to that
It's very
one.
helpful. It's
Hold
so
on
helpful.
to that aspect that is always there, that which you are touching when you say I. That sense of presence which you have known your whole life long. Bring the attention back to that as good as you can. Like that, for you, the experience will be much easier, and actually you also radiating something that helps others around you to deal with that experience easier. And you say, after all, you are not unused to such situations. It has been many, many times like this. But you feel it's even more intense now, and it's possible. Everything is right now extremely intense. It's like a war of the dark and the light, and both are very intensely present. And I have no doubt that it's something very profoundly good is happening, and eventually it's turning to the good. But right now it's like that the other side is holding on to their fingernails and trying their level best to manifest all over the world, not only in a place where it's so violent like around you now, right now, but so much negativity is there, so much despair is there. It's like those forces try to hold on and manifest very intensely, and then when it breaks out like it does now in Israel, it comes with a tremendous intensity and violence. But the other part is also there, intensely, only it's not so easy visible when you are in the midst of that situation. But prior to the light of the dark is that which you are, that existence which cannot be affected, which is never in danger, no matter how crazy it's going on in the world. Come back to that as good as you can and relax in that, in the midst of that madness.
Well, it's a very strong word, and I just can say that I can pray for that all the people around me will
Yes.
be able to keep this feeling of strong existence, untouchable, even in this period of time.
Right.
Thank you so much.
But don't lose your own touch, being concerned about others. You help them best when you connect deeply, strongly, profoundly, and then you still can pray for them, and you can still consciously do something about it. But don't lose that touch because of being concerned about the others, because the best you do for them is that you connect as good as you can. And then it radiates all by itself. I wish you a lot of courage and all the people around you.
Yeah,
Let's hope
really,
it soon quietens down again there.
I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
You are welcome. Hari Om. Hari Om.
Very,
Of course, it's not an easy idea to bring the attention back, come back to that sense of presence when it's so intense around. But nevertheless, it's not a question of easy or difficult. We can always attempt. We may not always succeed, but we can always attempt. No matter what our life situation is, no matter what's going on in this magic show of a world, it helps also to remember it is not as real as it appears. It's a magic show where consciousness dives into it for the experience, getting richer for the experience, essentially remaining the same and yet getting enriched through this human experience. And then sometimes it's very nice and peaceful and beautiful, and then sometimes it's not nice and not peaceful and not beautiful. And especially in those times where it's very challenging, if in spite of that, we even attempt to consciously connect and relax, there is great benefit in that. And we are getting an enormous amount of something very precious that we are collecting in those moments. So every difficulty that we are facing in this lifetime, in this world, is a challenge, is an opportunity to go deeper, to get richer, to unfold, to expand. That's what we are here for. In the meantime, if we can arrange our surroundings and influence our surroundings that it's more harmonious, more peaceful, wonderful. What matters most is that we connect with the essence that is unaffected, unattached, unconcerned even. So even when it's difficult, it's worth the trouble. It's even more worth the trouble to attempt to stop, not to go in all that despair, not to connect just with all that hate, but to stop, bring the attention back to that space where there is always peace, where there is always the joyousness of existence. Connect with that, dive into that, get rooted into that, then let it flow out into this material world, radiated. The one who is doing so is the first who is benefiting, and everybody else, especially those close to him, are benefiting, and ultimately everybody is benefiting. We are a collective, and everybody connects with that, and everybody contributes to that. All right. Is there anybody else who would like to come? Please come in.
Hi, Werner.
Oh, hello, Kristen.
Hi. Is the light okay?
Yes.
I look a little bit like a ghost.
Yes, you are nicely blue all over, but we can see you.
That's good. Okay, then I will not move. When I put on the camera, I could see the light was a little bit funny.
Yeah.
I have a question. It's related both to Mariano and Udi's question also.
Yeah.
Because I'm in a little bit the opposite situation like Mariano.
Yeah.
Since the lockdown in March last year, I have had the opportunity to have a lot of praxis.
Yeah.
And And in that way, I also had a lot of opportunity to study the mind and really see how, for example, if I had conversation or I saw some political thing on YouTube the night before, how the mind would be active about it the next day.
Mhm.
So it's been a very good laboratory. Now we have reopening.
Yeah.
And so there's been a lot of office work that I had to sit many hours in front of the computer many days. And now it's really difficult for me to connect to consciousness, because I have kind of whirled up my mind, so the mind is not quiet enough that I can easily connect. And then what I realized is just this little thing, and maybe it's only been going on for 1 week, that I also start to get a shorter fuse. Like I start to be irritated with people. Yeah. I have a very good teacher. It's my mother's neighbor, and he's 89, and we disagree, I would say, about anything opinion wise.
Yeah.
And he's very strong, like, put the young people in jail, they are partying and spreading the corona, kill all the immigrants, they are only coming here to take our word, like that.
Yeah.
And I have noticed in the spring, I have just been able to let it go and not getting involved in it. And now I notice myself the last days starting, trying to argue or convince him or
yeah.
So it's affecting the mind in that way. I'm kind of losing that base. So I just wonder if you have some encouraging words to say.
Right. Well, the base is never lost, but it may appear like that. When we get more involved on the mental level and start to worry about many things, then it seems the base is gone, but it's not really gone. Are you worrying about many things as they are happening when you see political and stuff? No.
No, not really.
No. It's just that somehow whatever you are busy with, you are being
it's whirling
absorbed.
up my mind.
Yeah.
Even like garden work, if I watch YouTube videos about gardening, it's very harmonious, and you don't have to dig the garden and do the compost. It's very kind of mellow. But then even the next day it will go on with planning and ideas. So it's just activating the mind. It's not worrying, I would say.
Yeah. Just restless a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, remind yourself every now and then, stop. Whatever you are doing. I mean, not necessarily when you are driving a car in the in the traffic. There you better keep your attention on the business. But wherever it is practically possible, for a moment, just stop. And very consciously breathe and center and relax for a moment. And then you can continue with your activity, but it gives like a break in that current of. It may come back after a moment and go again, but if you do these little breaks, then somehow you take the main source of energy that is feeding that restlessness, you take that away, and then it gradually will start to calm down by itself. And I take it you are still doing your daily practice in spite of that. It's restless.
Yes. It's just not so quiet.
Yeah, don't worry, there are periods like this. It may also be that because of being a lot alone and being able to practice more, that somehow you have been thinking deeper in your subconscious, and there a lot of stuff has been waiting to come to the surface, which is not necessarily that it's always stories, but it can be just like these centers of restlessness that are there that have been creating problems all the time, and then it comes to the surface, and when it's there fully active, it's not very pleasant. But then if you learn to detach from them, then it will also work out and go again. And after that, it's getting easier again. Don't think that you did something wrong. That's why it is happening now like this. But if you catch yourself and see that I'm getting again completely involved, something that is simple and easy, so at least you can tell yourself, hey, come on, it's not worth it. So relax, relax, relax. And do little breaks where you just center, breathe, relax. For a moment in between, then it's like you cut the current, and then gradually it's getting weaker. It's getting exhausted. Whatever has to come to the surface now and make you so restless, it goes and disappears.
Okay.
Try.
Yes.
Can tell me next week whether it works.
Okay. Yeah, it's good to be reminded.
Yes, it's always
the formula.
Good. It's good to be reminded by oneself, and sometimes it's good to hear from somebody else. Huh?
Yes. Thank you, Werner.
Don't worry, huh?
No.
No, no. Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Hari Om. Is there anybody else who would like to come? Please come.
Hello, Werner.
Hello, Ben. Oh,
you go ahead, Eric. Is it
okay.
Eric?
Yeah, it was Eric. Now,
okay. Yeah, but
all right, then Eric, you come after that, Ben. Hello, Eric.
Hello, Werner. How are you?
Quite fine. And you?
Quite fine. I'm fine. Not yesterday.
Not yesterday.
Not yesterday. Yesterday, I was really like in war with everyone else at work. Oh, that was really hard. I tried to do this little break. Yeah. Usually when I go eat, I have 45 minutes and I meditate there. But as soon as I get up, you know, I'm really caught up in the show. It's really crazy. It's an hospital there, and healthcare system here is really, it's a chaos.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's like I noticed like trying to come back to myself and not pointing others, but I don't know how to explain that, but it always fall into oh, that one, she's talking in my back, or she's put. It's because it's a chain, and everyone is like these tasks are like I complete someone else, and it's making like overwhelming and pushing on each other all the time. Yeah. And I try to slow down. Yeah. And not to get caught in the trap of running to please others, but on the other hand, it's like the flow comes back to me and they're pushing me, you know. Yeah. So it's hard to just like come back to the self. It's I don't know if you can say something to help me there, because when I'm there, I'm completely lost. But I noticed yesterday, is like I was going like, it's like 5 ends, you know, like one end and all these little fingers. But I was like, oh, that one, oh, something's just like got like very strong in me, like I hate her, like, and I was like, oh my God, I trying to just love that thought. It's just a thought, you know, but I was so caught up that even that didn't work. I came at home and I was so exhausted,
Right.
drained out.
Yeah. It's turbulent times. It's really crazy times everywhere in their own way. Not necessarily that it's manifesting as violently destructive as it's right now in Israel, but everywhere it's going. And of course, it's easy to be sucked into that current. And when you become aware that you are totally in the current, then don't waste your energy berating yourself and say, you say I should not, and I'm still gotten in, and then you make it only more difficult when you start to fight with yourself about it. But just the moment you see, the moment you become so really aware, oh, it got me completely, at that moment, you turn your attention 180 degrees and relax. And even if you stay only a little moment, that little moment is very precious. If you do it again and again, that other thing that is happening in between will happen again and again, but it's not getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And yeah, when you catch yourself in your mind pointing the finger at all the bad things they are doing, there you can say, let them be as they are. I'm just doing my stuff in my way, and that's it. Huh? Let them like it or not like it. It's not that you have to change the others. They are the way they are. And some may be naturally more sympathetic and some may be naturally less sympathetic. That doesn't mean you have to somehow try to artificially love those whom you don't like. But what you can do is that you can accept them, that they are the way they are. And then you don't send anything negative. Then it's not that you have to artificially try to replace the negative emotion with a positive emotion, but rather let them go, accept them, they are the way they are, and try to navigate as good as you can in the midst of them.
Sometimes I try to remember myself that I'm serving, but this is like, oh, this is really hard for me. I don't know, because the like to have the things right set, it's so strong in me that it's like, this is where it gets sticky. Instead of just like relaxing and serving and just like going on very smoothly and just observing, I just go and I try to fix things, you know, the way that I think that it should go, you know, even if like they serving bad food for the people because for the cost and things, but that's some of the thing I just like you know, like the vegetable, they're in the freezer, they unfreeze them and they try to make some puree, I don't know how to say in English, but anyway, I just throw them in the garbage. I don't let them do that, because for sick people, you don't serve like frozen and unfrozen stuff, you know. But this is the way they are, and this is the way I don't accept that. But sometimes, sometimes, you know, it could put me in a trouble. But I don't know what's word for that.
Right. Well, I mean, if there are situations like the one you described, you can try to talk to those who are in charge, who could change some things. And
I
if
did that.
And if it doesn't work, then maybe you better accept that the situation is as it is, even if it's not the optimal way of feeding sick people. Then if you can change it, change it. But if you cannot change it, then accept that it is as it is, but you can bring a positive attitude to them, and that helps them. That is more important than the food that they are eating.
Yeah, that's more important. The focus should be there.
Right, right. Change those things that you can change easily without creating a war about it. And those that you cannot change, you can accept that the things are not going always according to my ideals, how they should be. So what? Then you still can bring something creative and positive and beautiful in the situation, and that is more important than all the little details that you don't like and that are nagging in your mind.
Yeah, that's where I'm losing it up there. You put the finger there, all the little details.
Right, right.
But that's another mind trick, I think. Yeah.
That's another mind trick, that we are making then little things important, and some of them, they are more important than others, but we have the tendency, once we pick up something in the mind, we make it bigger and bigger, out of proportion important. And even if it would be better to do it another way, then it's most of the time not so terrible if it's still done that way.
Yeah.
Right.
True.
The most important thing is what you bring in the midst of that. And you can bring something lightful and beautiful and creative only if you're really in touch with yourself. And the more we are getting worked up about details that we don't like, the less we can be in touch with ourselves. And
that's
then,
true.
Of course, we can also learn in groups of people. I have my ideas, others have other ideas, and learn not to take myself as a person and my ideas so important.
Yeah, they're just thought.
They are just thoughts. Right. They are just thoughts.
Even the people are just thoughts.
I mean, they are living beings, but the way they are behaving and what they are thinking and what they are doing is also their creation from their conditioning, and it looks right to them.
Yeah, unfold over that. They're all beings.
Yes.
That's true.
Right.
The essence of everything, like gold, they're just ornament, but the gold is still there,
right,
shining.
Shining. So it's not that you have to artificially try to like things that you don't like. It's not that you have to try to turn around negative emotions into positive emotions. One can do that as an exercise, but it's much more important that you turn back to your own essence and relax. And then it becomes much easier to accept things, whether they are to my liking or not. And still you can see the others also are that same essence. It's not that then you have to develop an emotional love. I love everybody the same. It's more that the more you are aware of your essence, the more you become aware they also are the same essence, and you just feel connected. Even if on the surface level there is a bit, still you are that same shining essence.
Yes.
It's good to remind oneself on that, and then the little things have the tendency to be put again on the level where they belong, and not make them bigger and bigger and more important.
Yeah. Because when the show goes on, I remember I forgot that I'm only the witness there.
Yeah.
You know, I try to change everything or fix everything, or I don't know. I was always practical and trying to fix things, you know. But sometimes when trying to fix things, it get worse.
Right. It's not basically wrong by all means. If that is a natural tendency from you to be practical and to try to do the best in the situation, by all means do that, but without taking yourself as a person so important that it creates trouble. If you see somewhere it's just not possible to change it to the better as I think, then so be it. Then whether instead of creating a war about a little thing, you use your energy much better to connect and radiate.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, radiate.
Radiate.
Let that all that goes. It's only in my mind thing.
Right, of course, but then the habits are there and they will pull you in. The habits are forces. They have their own momentum, their own power, and they will try to pull you again and again and again into the same type of actions and reactions. But then when you start to eventually see it, then, stop. Bring the attention back and let go. And then if you do that consequently, you catch yourself earlier and earlier and earlier.
Yeah, that's the way to go.
Yes.
Because when the sitting, it's okay. You know, I feel good.
Right.
Even if I do like a lot of sitting in the day or sitting in the before going to sleep in the morning, this is there. It's very good. You know, I sit and poof, it's very good. But in the daytime, the practice is like I forgot to bring the bread, I think.
Yeah. No, I mean you certainly are very much helped by your sitting in the morning than in your daytime activities. But that doesn't mean when you start to regularly sit that after that the old habits simply give up. They will still be there and try to pull you in again and again. Sometimes we may even feel we are getting worse and worse, but it's more that you become more and more aware what's really going on. It's not that it's getting worse, but you're becoming more aware because there is that alertness because of your practice, and then you become more aware how much the reactions are there, how strong the reactions are. Previously, you were not even necessarily aware how strong it was. So it's not that it's getting worse and worse, but sometimes it feels, it's a job. But then,
oh yeah, yesterday I came from work and I was like, oh, I'm tired. It's really hard to be negative like that. I'm drained out.
Yeah, right. And then you can take it a bit in the light way. Joke with yourself. Be complainful with yourself. And, got you again. I see you there. I'm coming back home.
Yeah.
Neither putting the fingers at the others nor putting the finger all the time at yourself and this is not good and this is not good. Got me again. So here I let it go.
Yeah, I always forget those other fingers pointing me.
Yeah. And
but
then
sometimes, you know what?
And then
when I turn,
yeah, please tell.
Yeah, when I turn, sometimes the hammer goes on myself.
Yes.
Oh, that me, la 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 la.
Yeah,
this is like.
Definitely, as long as we are doing that to ourselves, to me, person, criticize and judge and do that all the time, we are invariably going to do that with everybody else too. But then when you catch yourself doing that to yourself, you can let it go. And it doesn't matter whether this was now right or wrong. This is gone, finished. It's already the past. Now I'm here and connect. And then you are again new and fresh and beautiful. And then also it becomes less and less important. In the beginning, you said, but then I know that they are blah, 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 talking about me. Then let them talk, so what? I'm still what I am. Whether they talk positive or negative, whether they like me or not like me. I am what I am. And the more you connect with that, the less that concerns you, whether that blah, blah, blah talk is going on. When people are together, they always do that to some extent.
Yeah, I do it sometimes. I catch myself doing it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyhow, we are here for learning. That's what we came
Yes.
for.
Yeah, that's what we came for.
And difficult situations, they are good learning fields where we can go really deeper, accumulate something very precious that will stay with you.
Yeah, like a Course in Miracles say, it's a really good class.
Yes, it's a good class, this one.
It depends. It depends if I choose the right teacher. Sometimes, but I think with the practice, I go a long way to trying to shift or for the Holy Spirit. But sometimes my mind, the mind says, I don't believe the mind now.
Yeah, yeah, right. Yeah. Don't worry. Continue like this. Don't judge yourself. Then you don't need to judge the others.
Yes. Thank you, Werner.
Shall we leave it at this?
Yes. Hurry home.
Hurry home.
I will
Hurry
let-
home. Hurry home.
I will let Ben talks.
Okay, then we'll ask Ben to come in. Okay,
Thank
Ben?
you.
Hurry home. You're welcome. Are you still there, connected, Ben?
Yes, I am. Hariom.
Okay, there we are. Hello, Ben.
Hello. Hello, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you okay.
Okay, great. I wanted to continue a topic we talked about last week, which was about yearning,
Yeah.
about this kind of seeking or devotion for that state of bliss or God or whatever we want to call it, or ourself. And I was reading I'm reading a book by Osho,
Yeah.
and there was a passage that touched on that, and I was wondering if I could share. It's quite brief, and hear what you would have to say about it.
Okay, it's short, huh? Not that you're
Yeah,
going to read us now for 10 minutes, huh?
No, it will be under 1 minute, I promise.
Okay. All right, go ahead.
Okay. Because it just touches on that topic and adds a little perspective to it, and I'm just curious to hear more about it.
Good.
The desire should become so intense that you put all that you have at the stake. The passion to seek should be so total that not a single doubt is allowed to make you waver. The very intensity will bring truth. It can happen in a single moment. Just you need to become a total intensity of inner fire. The decision should be total. It is arduous, of course, but everybody has to pass through that hardness once. One has to pay for truth, and there is no other way to pay for it. You have to put your whole being on the altar. That is the only sacrifice that is needed. So it's quite intense, and I know that the devotion is not the only path to connect and to find truth, but this seems to touch strongly about that path, and that it has to be so intense. And in my personal experience, I have sometimes glimpse where I do have this. Most of the time, actually, not so much. So, yeah, just wondering your
Right.
thoughts on this.
You can keep that as a reminder to come back to that intensity. Every time you're really here now, you're touching that intensity. But then it doesn't lie in your hands how much you are all the time successful. There's no point to sit down and think, now I can sit. I have to put the current on. Okay. There's no point in thinking I can sit down now and now I'm breaking through to the other side. Now I'm bringing about that intensity. You can attempt, fine, wonderful. But at the same time, it's not laying in your hand how far you get, how deep you go. So it's not that every time you sit down and try to bring something about, then after that you have failed if that is not happening what you want. And it's the same no matter what approach. Devotion or jnana, yoga, or a mixture of all that, or any other way you go about it, it's getting more and more intense. The more you connect with truth, the more you connect with reality, the more that intensity is there. But the one who is going on that path may not even be aware how much the intensity is increasing, because it's a gentle process, and that intensity keeps on intensifying. And but it always becomes, that's the normal state. Like after a moment, what previous has been very extraordinary becomes the normal state. I mean, this kind of sayings, they can very much inspire. I have been holding on to these kind of sayings a lot in my own approach, but it has also led to excesses that I, instead of just getting inspired by the essence of it, then with my me mind, I was holding on to that I must want, I must want, I must want. And then that very wanting was strengthening again rather the me personality. So that real sincere longing for truth is not that mental, I want, I must want, I must want. Just say the warning note, when you quoted now this saying, is totally right about that essence. That it's not something that you can just sit down and decide, now I'm doing it, because then I as a person try to do something. I as a person try to reach something, instead of doing exactly the opposite, of letting that personal stuff go and just be with that essence, with that sense of being. That intensity is not something violently forceful, but that intensity can be extremely soft and gentle.
Right. Yeah, for example, there's another teacher, Joe Dispenza, who he talks about the importance about bringing the intensity and bringing almost the emotion to the meditation to reach that state, but somehow it doesn't resonate. I also usually just like to not do anything. Otherwise it feels like I have to force something.
Yeah. You're quite right. I mean, it's good then not to get sort of dazed in a relative silence. That we are not just getting into relative mental silence and then sort of start to shut down and get numb there. It's good to keep that alertness, but generally forcing is not the way. It may be helpful for a moment when all the energy wants to go in all directions, a moment to force, and then you relax. And then maybe a moment you strain again a little, and you relax. And more going in the direction of being relaxed and open, and let the things happen instead of trying to bring them around. But then people are different, so if you can't help it, then fight. Eventually, you'll give it up. Believe me, I know what I'm talking about, because I couldn't help. And I fought and fought and fought and fought, and it was a hell of a painful business until I had exhausted enough that I started to accept, okay, let go instead of fight. Shall we leave it there?
Yeah, that's great.
Okay. Hari Om. Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Is there anybody else who would like to come? Please come.
Hi, Werner.
Hello. What's your name again?
Shreya.
Yes, hello, Cherry.
I'd like to hear a little bit more about this intensity that seems to me to be a little bit contradictory to the relaxing.
Yeah.
And you've spoken a little bit about it, but from my background, meditation was about, you start with concentration, and you mentioned how you need alertness, and you do need intensity and focus. But it's important for it not to be like this mental strain or this ego associated with the ego of striving. And I totally get the whole relaxing and centering thing. And that's a really valuable practice. And I've felt, because I've done some yoga teaching, and I do a lot of relaxation in the yoga teaching, because I feel it's something in our day and age that everyone seems to carry so much stuff around and need to let stuff go. And I recognize the importance of that.
Yes.
But then I'm just sort of wondering how these two go together.
Yes, they are not opposites. As long as it's very difficult to focus the mind, then focusing seems to be a strain. But then it's good to learn to focus, to concentrate and relax in it, instead of straining. Then concentrating, we associate that always in our mind with straining, concentrating. But actually, concentration simply happens if we stick to a subject instead of going all over the place. And as long as the mind is very restless, our way of understanding to concentrate is to strain, to stick as good as we can to one point or to one subject or to something without going all over the place. But if we learn, when we touch that object of concentration, or the self, the subject, also to relax, then something gets rewired in the brain, that we become aware concentration and strain is not something that goes together. Concentration and relaxation goes much deeper, because there we are opening up. But it's something that one has to learn little by little, most of us. It's not the many who are just born like this, that they can focus and relaxing it and stay with it. So it's the direction. You concentrate, you become aware how you strain, and you learn to relax while concentrating. And then the intensity and the relaxation, they go hand in hand. The more you can be focused and relaxed, the more you're touching really the essence. And that essence is pure intensity. So it's not either strain and intensity or relax and no intensity. But people looking for that intensity, people who have also never had a spiritual thought, what are they running after in their life is those kicks, those peaks, those some things that somehow focus the attention automatically so much that at that moment there is no other thought, something that keeps them so for a moment so busy that they don't think about yesterday or tomorrow, and then that is enjoyment. They enjoy that intensity, whatever it is that brings that. It can be something totally material, something, anything that gives that kick. People look for that. Why? Because everybody is looking for that intensity. There is that natural longing to be with that and to expand that intensity. It's just natural for consciousness to expand if we let it. But what is happening when people go for kicks? What is happening when somebody is on a roller coaster and then is there and is fully in that intensity of the moment? For a moment, one lets go of everything else and doesn't think about anything, about past or future. The attention doesn't go away, and because of that, that intensity is experienced. But if we learn to just bring the attention to the present, that intensity is there without having to go to all these kind of antics to find it. And as long as we are not used to do so, we don't get around a little strain to concentrate, at least for moments, and then again and again bring it back with a certain strain sometimes. But it's good to remind ourselves, okay, strain a moment and then learn to relax. And the more we are capable of relaxing, the more it becomes attractive. And then it's getting easier for the mind not to get pushed away. But once you are capable of touching the now and then are capable of relaxing, then the more you are capable of relaxing in that, the more there is simply pure intensity of the experience. The straining brings us to a certain point of intensity, but not beyond that. Then if we strain beyond that, then we burn our nervous system or something. But when you learn to touch the essence and relax in it, then there is no limit to it, how the intensity can increase. So it's not a contradiction. In the beginning, it looks a bit contradictory, but it's not at all. In contrary, it's up to a certain point, straining may work, may help, but from a certain point on, we have to let that go and relax. And the better we can let go and relax, the deeper we dive in that well of existence and the greater the intensity of it.
And how does intensity expand?
I mean, I'm using words trying to indicate something we cannot really talk about. I'm talking about expansion, but then immediately we think on somehow the experience expands in the universe. It may, you may have experiences like this, but that's not what I'm talking about. How does it expand? By somehow essentially being the same, but just becoming stronger and stronger. That's what is happening. The previous I used to think we have to struggle, and one day there's that big explosion, and that's the end of the story. That's it. And it's never it. Essentially, you may rotate in a new perspective, become aware of the essence, but then the experience of that becomes more intensive, keeps on unfolding, and there's no limit to that.
This is great, thank you. If it's okay, I wouldn't mind asking another question.
Sure, sure.
There's something else that's been sticking in my mind, just like even from a few weeks ago, and that's the difference between destiny and God's will.
Ah.
So is destiny associated with karma?
Yes.
And then there's God's will, and I suppose at a particular point of time, there's something that's God's will. But then also God created karma and destiny. So to me, it's another one of these things.
Anyhow, you still have to deal with your present moment from moment to moment. But let us go into that a little more. That what I call destiny is that, like, any being who comes into this world has something like a bag there of probabilities that are bound to happen. And the more one just lets the things go and flow, and is the more a human, let's talk now about the destiny of a human, the more one goes sort of half asleep through the life, the more those probabilities are simply going to manifest. This destiny is something, a personal story.
Is it related to karma?
Yeah, it's basically, it's karmic, but then I'm not saying it's coming out of previous lives of you. Let's let it be where it exactly comes from. But it's, you can also say you as a being, you decided to go for the ride of a lifetime and put in a certain destiny there of things that may happen. And then when a being grows up in this world, there is a temporary, apparent being formed, the personality. And that personality has to suffer certain karmic effects, positive and negative. But it's connected very much with that bag, with that destiny. Well, karma basically just means the law of cause and effect. So even within the lifetime, we keep creating karma all the time. If you punch a wall, then it hurts. It's the karma, that immediately experienced karma. What we are radiating out has the tendency to come back. Now, that destiny is not something written in stone. It can be changed. It's not that those probabilities are, they have to manifest, because the moment you start to stop, the moment you bring your attention to the timelessness of the now, it's like you are stepping out of karma. You're stepping out of cause and effect. You're stepping out of destiny and touching something unpredictable. From here, something beautiful and creative flows in the current that can change destiny. And the more you function from that perspective, the more you become also aware what is about to come. And you, on a subtle level, you may start to decide, oh no, now I'm not more going down that alley. I've done that enough. So I don't have to experience those sweet and bitter fruits again. And then you can just drop something that was bound to happen and it doesn't necessarily manifest. So destiny, the more you live in the present, in the timelessness of the now, the less power destiny has. Now, as long as we are appearing in a human form, in this human world, in this creation, at the base of this creation, there is a cosmic will that has somehow brought this about. Then we are creating, we're diving into it, we are creating our own little creation, but it's still based on a cosmic creation that the individual has not created. that there is a powerful being at the base of this creation and somehow waves all the different stories into a cosmic tapestry that it is always somehow functioning and not falling to pieces. And as long as we are manifesting in this manifestation, there we are subject to that basic cosmic will, to that divine will. But this divine will has nothing to do with karma. It has nothing to do with our destiny. It's not something that we can predict at all. It's simply there. And the more you become conscious, the more you may consciously tune into that, become aware of the divine will and tune into it. But we somehow have to arrange our life, arrange ourselves in tune with that cosmic will. There will be given a little line of freedom, and the more you're self-conscious, the more you're in harmony, the longer that line becomes. But automatically also, you don't feel like working against that cosmic divine will. Or if somebody becomes very self-aware and somehow doesn't want to deal with that divine will, somehow has other ways, then that being simply gets out of this creation. So destiny, we can learn to have more and more in control. That doesn't mean we have to control every damn little thing that happens in our life, but that the destiny loses its power and we can more and more choose whether we just let destiny unroll itself or whether we somehow give a little push that takes a new direction. But the divine will is not something you can push around.
It seems to me that as we become more aware, then we become more, I suppose, free in a sense of destiny. And then also we become more aware of God's will and,
Yes.
and perhaps living according to that.
Right. Right. So they touch, but still it's two different levels. Destiny or divine will, God's will. And they are often set in the same breath, but it's not really the same because divine will, as an individual, like it or not, you cannot push it around. I tried a lot.
Yes,
I tried a lot and made just a fool out of myself.
Yeah, it's interesting because they sometimes do get used interchangeably, I think, and they get thought of interchangeably, and they're not the same thing. That's right.
Right, they're interchange and are still not, it's two different levels.
Yeah.
Destiny is about the personal story. The divine will is not about the personal story.
No. Yeah, it's more the grand plan.
Right.
But it's also, we come in contact, we are part of that grand plan, so it's how we move through that grand plan or contribute to it or not contribute to it.
Right. The more you are in harmony with yourself, the more you are in harmony with the divine will, and incidentally, the more you are in harmony, the more freedom you are being given. To bring your own unique flavor into it, your own unique beauty into it.
Okay, well, thank you. Thank you.
And now I have given all this explanation, and now I'd add to it, you can never really explain what's going on. These are pointers. I try to point at something I'm aware of in ways, and it's never quite like that. It's just a pointer to give the attention a good direction to look at the thing. But really the mystery of what's going on will never really be explained. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Hari Om. Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Hari Om, Werner.
Hello, Maria. Maria, I don't know whether you hear me. The connection is bad. I cannot hear you. Oh, now I hear you, but the picture is still jumping.
What about now?
Right now I heard you.
Better
right.
now?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, let's try. So it's a question, is connected to what you've just been discussing, because this is very relevant to what I'm experiencing now myself. And my question is about your journey. Because when I watched an interview, long time ago, an interview where you were talking about your life, how you came to India and you got through all the spiritual journey a bit, you did a bit of summary of that. I had the feeling that you had from an early age a clarity about it. And I just wonder whether, well, first of all, is that the case? Because that's the feeling I had. And I wonder whether you've had moments where you felt, for instance, after the years you spent meditating in the cave, whether there was a moment where you felt you could go different ways, like going back to some more normal life, to do something different, like, okay, this was a period of my life, some years of doing very intense meditation, spiritual practices, and now I could do. I mean, if you had that experience of feeling that you were in a kind of impasse and then deciding again, or if it's just that you got it clear from the beginning.
Okay, I could now go into my story and talk a lot about it, but has it, you said it's about something that is actual with you. It has something to do with your story that you are asking this question.
Yes, because what I'm experiencing now is that I've always been very passionate about education. I am passionate in my job. And it's as if lately, what I have experienced is a lot of release of fears. I feel that I was still very driven by the fear of survival, the fear of not being approved, like very much working towards gaining something, material or acknowledgement. And now it's very freeing, the experience I'm having, because I notice that I have far less of any of those fears, far less. So I'm less driven by whatever is happening out there. And there are moments where I don't have that, the fire that I used to have about certain projects. I love it, but I don't have that intense, perhaps it's part of the discussion of the intensity, but the intensity, I've discovered that it was fear too. It was just here, was running the show. So I don't have a specific question, but it's more like an experience now of having a sense of freedom, easiness, and at the same time, it's as if I have to find my own direction more than before. You know?
Right. But I get
And
what it's all about.
Sorry?
I get what it's all about. Okay. To your first part of the question, no, I didn't have a clarity from early life on. There was something that was pushing me on in a certain direction, but I was very not clear about it. And then looking here and there, and then when I got in touch with the yoga, then it was clear, okay, it goes in that direction, but still, I mean, there was passionate going in different directions. Until a certain point where I was in India and already really practicing, and there it was clear, there is no way of turning back. Either I'm getting anywhere or I die trying. There is no way, no third solution. But that's my story. Somehow it had to be in my story like this. That doesn't mean somebody else has to build their story according to the pattern of my story. And now you say that previous you felt more passionate about many things, and then you actually, I think what you're wondering, are you sort of getting less deep by not mastering up that intensity with all the passion that was there? Right, but don't be afraid of that. Just be alert as good as you can. And then learn to accept that you have the full right to be quite happy, at ease, at peace, that you don't have to make yourself always tense, that you don't have to push yourself always into tension in order to have the right to exist. Right, that you can learn to be at ease and peace and relax in that, and that actually in a subtle way gaining more and more intensity, not less. Simply it makes less noise on the surface.
Yeah, what I feel is that I've become more flexible than before. Before it was like one way. I just wanted to do this thing.
Yeah.
And I went on full trot in that direction. And now it's like, I feel I have much more flexibility. I have preferences still, but sometimes when there are moments when I don't feel that strong drive that I used to feel, that I get a bit lost.
Yeah. But then instead of trying to fall back into the old pattern in order to feel secure, learn to relax, accept that feeling of being lost and center in the now, and learn to just relax in the now, and then that feeling of being lost also will pass away and will go away. And you become aware that sense of security can come from only one place, from that aspect in you that is never affected by what is happening. That needs not create the security by putting barriers and by doing this and by doing that, because this is the essence that cannot be affected, cannot be touched, cannot be destroyed, cannot be wiped out, cannot be done anything to it. And then the more you learn to relax in that, the more all feelings of insecurity will just disappear. So it's nothing wrong that you are less passionately going about it. Just don't get in the consciousness lazy and sort of dream away all the time. Just be awake, alert in the now, but then by all means, if it's possible, at ease and peace. It's good to live like this. Then something very beautiful is flowing also through you. If you are at ease and peace, and you're bringing light and beauty into this world.
It's like this rediscovering a different way of being productive, you know. Productivity has been always a very strong drive of mine, like doing something that I feel is worth doing, that it makes a difference to myself and to others.
Right.
And it's like now I feel, yes, is rediscovering a different state in which I do that, you know.
It's a different level of productivity.
Yes.
To just be consciously conscious, consciously alive, at ease, at peace, relaxed, is an extremely creative state. And it's extremely productive of something very beautiful on this level in this world. But it's not something that you can see and at the end of the day count the bags that we did and see that much I did and this I have created and that I did, but it's not as clearly visible. But it's not that you somehow are not productive if you just sleep all the time. Okay, then you are not productive. If you're alert, awake, conscious, but at ease, at peace, then you are creative. So we don't have to necessarily always look at how much I have done. That simple being of you will become more and more radiant. And you are the first who is benefiting from that, but everybody else is also benefiting from that. I've spent 7 years of my life on 2 square meters without coming out, not doing any damn thing. I look at it as the most creative period of my life. Not the most, but a most creative period of my life. It's not necessarily what you do. So, but if you are active and you do things, and by all means do things, but don't be afraid if you do less visible things that maybe you are getting less useful to yourself or to others.
I mean, you were doing a lot in that space. The doing that you were doing a lot. Yeah. It's a different type of, it's the visible and invisible.
Right.
That's, I get it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Shall we leave it at that?
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Okay.
Hari Om, Werner.
Hari Om. Hari Om.